We are daily being exposed to a steady diet of agenda-driven news media where even the most aware individual could be easily deceived as the propaganda machines of mainstream media and government sources continue to churn out what they want the masses to see.
Mr. President, earlier this year you told us you had ordered your administration to cease and desist on payments to journalists to promote your agenda. You cited the need for ethical concerns and the need for a bright line between the press and the government. Your administration continues to make the use of video news releases, which are prepackaged news stories sent to television stations, fully aware that some or many of these stations will air them without any disclaimer that they are produced by the government. Comptroller General of the United States this week said that raises ethical questions. Does it raise ethical questions about the use of government money to produce stories about the government that wind up being aired with no disclosure that they were produced by the government?
There is a Justice Department opinion that says these pieces are within the law so long as they're based upon facts, not advocacy. And I expect our agencies to adhere to that ruling, to that Justice Department opinion. This has been a long-standing practice of the federal government to use these types of videos. Agricultural Department, as I understand, has been using these videos for a long period of time. The Defense Department, other departments have been doing so. It's important that they be based upon the guidelines set out by the Justice Department. Now, I think it'd be helpful if local stations then disclose to their viewers if that's, that this was based upon a factual report and they chose to use it. But evidently in some cases that's not the case. So anyway.
Guarantee that's happening by including that language in the prepackaged report.
Yeah, I don't, Oh, you mean a disclosure on George W. Bush and I?
Well, some way to make sure it couldn't air without the disclosure that you believe is so vital.
Ken, I mean, there's a procedure that we're going to follow, and the local stations ought to, if there's a deep concern about that, ought to tell their viewers what they're watching.
Look, if you're still sitting there believing everything you see on TV or on the internet or in magazines, I mean, dang, you can't even believe the person you're looking at in a magazine hasn't been altered in some way by some Photoshop wizard. If you still believe that everything you see and hear is true, then maybe this video can serve as an audio-visual smelling salt to stir you out of your media-induced coma. We live in a day and age where neither seeing nor hearing is necessarily believing. Computer animations, remastered digital recordings, and scripted scenes in top story sound bites and video clips, or front page photos in newspaper print and online publications seem so real, so believable. But the safe stance to take would be the stance of suspicion whenever anything is presented to you from multinational or government sources. And yes, this goes for anything on the internet as well, including this video. So here's what I'm getting at. Using facial capture and facial reenactment software, students at colleges are able to, in real time, create facial expressions and even insert audio to make you believe that individuals like world leaders are doing and saying things that they aren't actually doing or saying. And this is how a Stanford website explains it. Quote, "We present a novel approach for real-time facial reenactment of a monocular target video sequence, like a YouTube video. The source sequence is also a monocular video stream, captured live with a commodity webcam. Our goal is to animate the facial expressions of the target video by a source actor and re-render the manipulated output video in a photorealistic fashion," end quote. So in other words, the source, and in this case a college student, projects the expressions of that student's face upon the target. In this case it's Arnold Schwarzenegger here, or here with George Bush, or in this case with Vladimir Putin. The student's expression is warped onto the target's face, making him look like his mouth is open, or that he's laughing, or making any number of facial expressions. The Stanford website continues to explain the process. Quote, "At runtime, we track facial expressions of both source and target video using a dense photometric consistency measure. Reenactment is then achieved by fast and efficient deformation transfer between source and target. The mouth interior that best matches the retargeted expression is retrieved from the target sequence and warped to produce an accurate fit. Finally, we convincingly re-render the synthesized target face on top of the corresponding video stream such that it seamlessly blends with the real-world illumination. We demonstrate our method in a live setup where YouTube videos are reenacted in real time, end quote. Now add this to the fact that in the late 90s, a scientist named George Papkin, who developed a voice morphing technology, was able to, with pinpoint accuracy, clone the voice of General Carl W. Steiner, former Commander-in-Chief of U.S. Special Operations Command. What did the cloned voice of Steiner say? Quote, "Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government," end quote. Which, by the way, would be a really good idea, but I digress. But this technology, guys, was over 17 years ago. There's no telling what kind of advanced technology the government has today to employ methods to further deceive the masses. And you can bet that if the government is employing these technologies, it will not be for our good. When you combine all this technology with the obvious package for the masses psychological operations like Sandy Hook, the Boston bombing, the London subway bombing, or 9/11, where such events were used to create widespread panic and feelings of national indignation, and you see how government puppets used the fear they created to sell the idea of a decades-long war in the Middle East and legitimize an interventionist foreign policy which makes America a global bully, the scourge of the earth, and a refuge for the criminal cartel of a vast network of international bankers and financiers. And you see, as a result of the demoralization of our culture, the removal of our individual rights, and the constant plundering of our wealth by the military-industrial complex, then you'll begin to see the enormous scope of the monstrosity known as the federal government. And maybe, just maybe, we can all wake up together, unite together, and crush the beast that's been sitting on our chest for so long.
Guys, if you want some more information about voice morphing, facial capture, and facial reenactment technology, I'll have some links for you in the description below. And remember, freedom has a price, and that's eternal vigilance. And indifference to this notion is the means by which the people will secure their own oppression. Because when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. I'll see you guys in the next video.